everyone, welcome back to Build It with Tim. On this week's episode, we are going to be talking about real-time notifications. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, well, doesn't Tadabase already have notifications? And the answer is, of course, yes. Tadabase does have the ability to send notifications, right? We can send emails, we can send text messages, we can, when you submit a form, you're going to see an alert message pop up. When you make changes or edits or anything inside the application, you may see a toast message in the upper right-hand corner, but all of these notifications, um, well, at least the last two that I mentioned, the form submission notification and any of the toast notifications only are seen or only visible by the user on that particular page. So what if you wanted to actually send a real-time notification to all of the users inside your application? Okay, so no matter what page they're on, no matter what they're doing inside your application, based on some sort of predefined trigger, you will send a notification in the application to every user currently using it. All right, that's what we're going to do today. And how we're going to do that is with a service called Ably. Okay, this is an external service that allows us to do these type of things like real-time notifications. And of course, because this is an external service and Tadabase is incredibly open and flexible, we are going to be utilizing some custom code and then pipes to trigger all of this. All right, so let's take a look at the finished product and I'll see you in the builder. Okay, as usual, we're taking a look at the finished application here, and what we are looking at on the left-hand side of the screen is a customer who's logged into an application. Okay, on the right side of the screen, we are an administrator logged into the application. So we're on two different pages. Okay, the customer here is going to submit a form. In this case, it's going to be creating a new ticket. Um, so we'll just create a new ticket. And when this form is submitted, um, it's going to trigger a Ably notification. It's going to trigger a real-time notification within the admin layout. Okay, so anybody who's within the admin layout on any admin page is going to see this notification saying, heads up, a new ticket has been submitted, and then a button to click to reload the page. Okay, and then here's that new ticket that was just submitted. All right, so let's head over to the builder and get started on setting up Ably and real-time notifications. All right, so the focus here is really Ably, right? It's really the ability, these real-time notifications. How you build this into your application and what type of application you build this into is entirely up to you, right? I feel like I say that in most videos, that a lot of these things are entirely up to you, how you choose to implement these. Okay, but there's a whole big list of different ways you could do this. If you wanted to just trigger the notification every time one record is updated or edited, only on a details page, whatever. There's a lot of different use cases for this. Um, what we're going to be doing though is we're going to be triggering a notification app wide. Okay, so for a particular group of users at least. Okay, and the point of all this is that the application that we build and the application that we're using is not really all that important. Okay, what's really important again is Ably itself. So to get up to speed super fast, we are going to use our new onboarding wizard. Okay, so we're going to be able to create this application in just a matter of minutes. Now, my idea um, was to do some sort of like help desk. So every time a new ticket is created, then we're going to send a notification to the internal users or like the administrative users. Okay, so a customer creates a ticket. Um, Yep, we're going to have employees, admins, and customers accessing this app. And we're going to build this support ticketing system. And we're going to have a contact directory. And we will also include um, customer feedback. All right, and that's it. This is going to build all your data structure. And that way we can just get off and running quickly. Okay, so once it's loaded, you can see we have all of our data tables. So that's great. That saves me a ton of time here. Now all I need to do is to start building out the pages. So let's do that quickly here. So um, we have all of the information that we need. Let's just start adding a couple sample records here. So really all I'm concerned with for this particular demo is we need a couple users to log in, and we need one of them being like an administrator, one of them being a customer. We need a page for customer to submit a ticket, and then we need a page for an administrator to see all of the tickets, and that's where we're going to see those notifications when a new ticket is created or updated. Okay, so let's add a contact record here. So we'll just do myself. How about that? I'll be the customer here. We won't worry about connecting to a company quite yet. Okay, and then we have to, here's our predefined users that the onboarding wizard made. And let's say this is connected to this contact. Great, and then we'll have our admin login and our customer login. Okay, now the pages. Here's our pre-built pages, or at least the beginning of our pages. We have the customer's dashboard and admin dashboard. So let's start with the customer dashboard. All right, so the way I envision this is we have two columns on this page. The left-hand column is going to have the ability to add a new ticket. And we'll fill out the subject and the details. And then we want to make sure that whoever is submitting this ticket is going to, we're going to set the contact to the correct value. In this case, it's whoever is the contact is connected to the logged in user. Okay, so we got that. And then we will just do a list component of tickets. So these are the tickets that have been added by the customer. And for a filter, we're just going to say that we have, we only want to show the tickets where the contact is connected to the logged in user's contact field. Okay, that's all we need to do for the customer page. Now the admin page, let's just have a list view of all of the tickets, and that's all we really need for now. So we'll just do this. Make sure we'll just do one big layout. And let me go back to the customer page quickly and do the same over here. One layout and or one column and default layout. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's just go ahead and actually just preview this page now. So if we log in as, let's see, let's log in as the customer first. So we have our usernames and passwords were generated for us for testing. Okay, so this is going to be our test ticket and test ticket details. Awesome. All right. And we'll go back and make sure that all of those fields are populated correctly. Yeah, so we're not going to worry about assigned to right now, right? Because this is, again, we're not focusing on the actual structure. All we want is these notifications. So if this were the type of app that you were building, and obviously you're going to continue building those workflows to like, who do we want to assign it to by default? Maybe nobody. How do you build the assignment workflow? So when new tickets come in, how do they actually get processed? But again, that's for another video. That's not for right now. Okay, so we have all that. That's good. And then let's also do, let's just go to the admin login as well. Whoops. Okay. Awesome. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get started in Ably. All right. And the first thing we need to do is go to Ably's website. We need to create an account and we need to get our API credentials. And then I'm going to show you how to actually where to put those credentials inside the application and how to get this all configured. Okay. All right, so the first place we're going to get started with implementing Ably is in our settings and the custom header footer code section of the settings. All right, we need to paste some scripts into the custom header section so that when our app loads, these scripts will load with it. Now, I should have mentioned that we are using Ably to do these real-time notifications, but that is simply a messenger service, okay? We can then use other services on top of that to make the actual like notifications that we want. Okay, so the notifications that we're going to be making are using Suite Alert. So we could just trigger the browser's standard alert function, but that's not very cool. So we're going to be using Suite Alert to make it look much nicer. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste this stuff directly into the custom header section. So here is the JavaScript library for Ably. Here's the JavaScript library for Suite Alert. And here is a script where we are loading some of our Ably credentials. Okay, and that's all we need for this particular section. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to add some JavaScript to a layout. And the reason that I'm adding it to the layout in this case is I wanted to affect all of the pages within the admin layout. Okay, so the way that Ably's working is we need a way to subscribe to a channel. Okay, and then within those channels we can have like sub channels, right? So we need to, when a administrator enters a page within the admin's layout, we want them to be subscribed to the channel so that we can send messages to that channel. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and maybe it will make more sense as we continue on. Here's the code that we're going to be using, and I'll try to go through this and explain this the best that I can. Okay, so first thing we're doing is we're making our channel, and we're just going to call this ticket updates. Okay, now you can call this whatever you'd like, something relevant to your application or something generic. It doesn't matter. The point is that this is user selected. You can just make this whatever you want. Okay, the next thing is we're subscribing to a channel. In this case, we're also doing like a sub channel. Okay, so we're going to have new messages. So this was the case that, or this, if you wanted to, an administrator subscribes to this main channel, but then, let's say you wanted to push a message only when a record has been created, then you can have like a sub channel. If you wanted to push a message only when a record is edited, you could have a different channel. So again, this is user defined, so we're just going to call this whatever we want, and I'll just call it new messages. And then here is the JavaScript for Suite Alert. Okay, so we could trigger the standard browser alert functionality, but it doesn't look very nice, and we want this to look awesome. So we're going to use Suite Alert for this, and we're just feeding it some information. The title, again, anything in green here is user editable, essentially. Well, everything is user editable, but what I mean by that is like we're actually giving it a static value, and we can assign that static value however we want. The text, however, you can see says message.data. This is going to be the actual message that comes from Ably. So we're going to feed this into this parameter, so to speak, right? This variable to like show whatever message we want. All right. And in this JavaScript, we're saying show message.data. All right. So this is not a static value. Everything else fine. And then here at the very end, what we're doing is if there's new records that are visible to the administrators, we'll probably want them to reload the page in order to be able to see those new messages, or in this case, new tickets. Okay, so we have a button that's going to say click to reload, and then we have this JavaScript to actually reload the current page. All right, now next, we need to build the pipe that's going to kind of be the middleman between this Ably service, all the page JavaScript and stuff, and actually the interactions with that are happening on the page. Okay, so in this case, from earlier in the video I mentioned, this is when a customer creates a new ticket or submits a form. Okay, so we're going to run this pipe inside the form as a record rule, and that will fire off this whole workflow. Okay, so we're going to go over to the pipe section, and we are going to just add a new pipe. Okay, and we can call this Ably notifications, and we'll start to add all of our information. So we're going to add a new API call, and we can say, well, this could be whatever we want, but let's say send message to channel. All right, and now we'll go through this step by step. So the first step is we're going to change this to a post request. Here is the endpoint. So we have one parameter, and it is the actual channel. And then we're going to define some additional parameters here in the parameters tab. So the first one that we need to do is channel, where we have friendly name, the slug. Okay, and then we'll call this, how about we'll call this sub channel, because I feel like that's the easiest way to describe it. Right, this was when an administrator goes to a page within their layout, they subscribe to the main messages channel or ticket updates channel, and then they have like the sub channel of new messages. Okay, and then we actually have our message parameter. So this is what's going to be sent and displayed inside of Suite Alert. All right, that's all we need for the parameters there. Now we need to go to headers and we need to add the rest of our Ably credentials. So we are sending a token essentially over to ensure that we are who we say we are when we're doing this. And you can get this information directly from Ably, but right, we have our authorization and then we have our key on the right. Okay, now moving on to the request. So we're going to send a JSON request where we can now fill in these particular parameters that we already defined. So the channel parameter is going into the actual endpoint, into the URL, and that's fine. The other two parameters are part of the request. Okay, so subchannel is going to go into the request, and here is the data that we send, and that's going to be the parameter of message. All right, and now if I actually send this, or once we send this request, we have a particular response that we're going to get back, and the response that we want to capture. The Well, maybe I should just show you. Okay, so let's pause for just a moment, and we'll go over to the admin layout, and we'll actually get this set up and test it. All right, so here we have the pipe on the left, okay, inside of our builder, and then we have the admin page on the live app on the right side of the screen. Okay, so if this test is successful, then the message that we send from the pipe itself or the pipe configuration is going to display inside this page on the right. Okay, so first we need to fill out those parameters that we defined, and the channel was, or the main channel was ticket updates, I think. I might have to go back and check. And then we have the sub channel of new messages. And then we can say our message. Clicking test will pop up our Suite Alert notification. Okay, here is the static value of heads up that we defined in our JavaScript. Here is the static value of the color and the icon and things like that, and the button with the text. Here is our dynamic value that we set up in that JavaScript, right? Message.data. Okay, so if I were to change this, this is our dynamic value right here. Okay, so we can feed record information if we wanted to through this pipe and able to display like actual contextual information inside of this pop-up. Okay, so we're going to save this and we can get back to building out the response. Okay, so there are a few things I want to draw your attention to for building out our response. Number one is we need to save some value here in order to trigger the pipe inside the record rule. Okay, so we want to save some response. So it doesn't really matter in this case because I don't believe any of these are really going to be useful as actual data points inside the application. So we'll just do channel for now. But the main thing that I want to draw your attention to is the status code. So normally the status code is 200 when it's successful. In this case, it's 201. Okay, and that means we have to put that in for the code section of the response, or else this is not going to work. All right, so here we have channel as our this is this inside of our response here. So we want to say, okay, go get the value of this key, the key being channel. So here is channel. And then the field name, we can just call this whatever we want. So response or Ably response, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's do that. And then we will go back to, well, we're going to have to go back to our actual data builder for just a moment, right? I'm talking about triggering the pipe and saving these pipe values and stuff. So we need to make sure that we have a way to do that. All right, so inside the ticket record, right, because we're going to build a form, or we've built the form is going to submit a ticket, trigger the pipe, trigger the notification. This is where we need to save that pipe response. So we're just going to create a new field here and call this Ably response, so that we can save that value. Okay, and now we'll go over to the customer's dashboard, to the ticket form, and we'll start to add our pipe. Okay, so here we go. Let's actually keep this into a separate rule just for clarification or for clarity here. So we'll add our pipe. We will select our pipe, select our method, and we have our parameters. So we'll do the channel is going to be custom value of ticket updates. Subchannel is going to be custom value of new messages. And our message in this case, so let's see, I don't know if there's, I mean, we could pass some record information here if we wanted to, like the subject or the contact. Um, but in this case, let's just say our new messages, um, well, this is going to run for when tickets are created. So let's say a new ticket has been submitted. A new ticket has been submitted, and then the button will say click to reload. Okay, and here is where we need to save the Ably response, the pipe value of Ably response, in order to trigger this whole rule. Okay, so now let's set up our pages so that we can see both sides here. So log in as a customer, submit a ticket, and logged in as an administrator so that we can see that message. All right, so here we are inside of our application, and you can see we're logged in as two different user types. So on the left-hand side of the screen, we're logged in as a customer. On the right-hand side of the screen, we're logged in as an administrator. All right, so now if we put all of the pieces of this puzzle together successfully, then when I enter a ticket, I should, as an administrator, receive a real-time notification letting me know that a new ticket has been submitted. And then I can click to reload and see that new ticket. Okay, so we are done with this particular example, but I just want to make it clear that these types of systems can be built into many, many, many different types of apps, many different types of use cases. Okay, so with this particular system, you could potentially do something like we've done here, which is a very global effect where we're sending a notification essentially app wide or at least layout wide. But you can get far more granular with it. For example, let's say you are within an organization and there's several members of your team all working on the same records. If you have multiple people who are looking at a details page for a specific record, if one person edits that record, then you can send a notification to anybody else who is on that page specifically. Okay, so that's an example of a very granular use case where the one we just looked at, again, is much more global. Okay, so um, I'd be happy to discuss more potential use cases and maybe how to take what we've learned here today and implement that in a different use case. And I would encourage that conversation to happen on the community. Okay, our Tadabase community is a fantastic place to discuss this type of stuff because it's really valuable when we have all of these different user experiences and perspectives when discussing this type of thing. All right, so I guess if anybody has any questions or comments on this particular video, I'll be hanging around the community and you can find me there if you're looking forward to anything that you may have to say. And I think that's about it for this video. All right, so I will see you next week. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody.